Hello and welcome to a Wednesday live right here on the early line on SportsGrid and all across the SportsGrid network. That includes sportsgrid.com/watch, where you can find your favorite destination to consume everything all across the grid. He is Donnie Rightside. I am Ben Stevens. We are live together for the next 3 hours up until 11 a.m. Eastern time, bright and early on this Wednesday morning to recap a Tuesday night across the sports landscape. In a Tuesday night that began the conference finals round in both the NBA and Stanley Cup postseasons. Game number one in the Western Conference Finals in Oklahoma City between the Thunder and the Timberwolves. Full-blown breakdown and everything you need to know from the opening game of this set and what it means for the entirety of the Western Conference Finals and who might win the West and represent this conference in the NBA Finals. Stanley Cup Finals, the Stanley Cup postseason, with the Eastern Conference Finals starting last night in Raleigh. The Hurricanes and the Panthers in the reigning Stanley Cup champs showing their might even on road ice. A full slate in Major League Baseball to break down and a ton of NFL news coming our way from the owner meetings this week in Minneapolis. Donnie Rightside will bring the heat bright and early on this Wednesday.
Yeah, we're expected to get some votes today. We'll see how those votes turn out, but also understanding yesterday was the Western Conference Finals start. Nailed that game with the Thunder and also Anthony Edwards under his points prop, so we're feeling good about the start of that series. Another start of a championship series tonight in the Eastern Conference Finals from Madison Square Garden. The Pacers and the Knicks will have all of that and much more, so an exciting, action-packed 3-hour show about to get underway.
Yes, sir, DRS. So let's go to Oklahoma City. The Thunder outlasting and even hammering the Denver Nuggets in Game 7 on Sunday afternoon to advance to the Western Conference Finals for the first time since 2016. The Minnesota Timberwolves taking care of business in their second-round set against the Warriors, who, of course, did not have Stephen Curry for the final 4 games in full. Minnesota rested Oklahoma City on a quick turnaround. In early, it was the T-Wolves with a 4-point lead at the break, but in the second half, all OKC. They win the final 2 quarters by 30 combined. As the Thunder roll in game number 1, 114-88. Oklahoma City covers as a 7-point home favorite, a total that was on a consistent rise throughout Tuesday, closing around 218 and a hook. 219 even stays well under. Stifling Oklahoma City defense. A couple of questionable calls on the Timberwolves on the defensive side of the floor, allowing Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and others to get to the charity stripe. OKC dominant in the second half. They take a 1-0 series advantage in the Western Conference Finals.
There you go. And also, you see the excitement from Ben. I don't know if that means a 2-hour show to save that voice or maybe a 4-day work week could be worked in for the BSS. We'll see if that happens. 114-88. I didn't expect it to be this bad, to be honest. I did think the Thunder would win this game. And now, as I told you, Ben, we're perfect. I told you game number 2, I'm coming right back on the Minnesota Timberwolves. The whole rest foot versus rust thing, it didn't really play into it where I didn't think like, oh, it's a detriment that the Timberwolves have time off. Time usually heals all wounds and makes you more like athletic per se in that game number 1. But I thought that adrenaline of coming off that game number 7 and still being in playoff mode for OKC, now you're back to even footing. And I actually think that's going to benefit the Timberwolves in game number 2. But take nothing away. Their defense was spectacular. They made the plays down the stretch. They were down at the break and absolutely dropped the hammer in the second half of that game. The Thunder won. The Thunder are the better team. They'll probably win the series, but Minnesota's not going to go away that easily here. I'm telling you. Minnesota game number 2, they'll be up for it.
We'll look at the updated odds, what we have in store for Game 2 tomorrow night back in Oklahoma City and where the Western Conference Finals stand. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, death, taxes somewhere around 30-plus points, scores 31, not overly efficient from the floor, but 11 of 14 at the free throw line. A big storyline exiting game number 1 was the officiating on SGA that looked a lot different than the physicality the Thunder were playing with on the defensive side of the floor. We'll get to all of that in just a matter of moments. Game number 1 of the Eastern Conference Finals in the Stanley Cup playoffs. Some familiar foes in Raleigh meeting up last night. The Hurricanes and the reigning Stanley Cup champions, the Panthers. It was 2 years ago as Florida reached the Stanley Cup final. They swept the Canes, and based on the result last night, we might see the same in the Eastern Conference Finals. The Panthers dominant on road ice in Game 1. A 5-2 victory over Carolina as an ever so slight road ice money line underdog.
It's pretty impressive, man. Florida just continues to get it done. And also Sergei Bobrovsky, 31 saves yesterday in the victory on the road. You know how important it is in a game number one, specifically for the road team to try to steal at least game one or game two before heading back to your own building. Massive win for the Panthers, puts them in control of this series, and we'll certainly update those price points a little bit later on with Pete Jensen on where that goes. But I don't think anybody's surprised that the Panthers won, but maybe the Panthers won by 3 goals. That could be a surprise there.
They were the series outright favorite, that being Florida, but the road ice underdog in the opening game. Playoff Bob, Sergei Bobrovsky, fantastic between the pipes last night. As we expected yesterday, DRS, in the owner meetings in the Twin Cities for the National Football League, unanimously ownership around the NFL votes to allow NFL players the possibility to play flag football in the 2028 Olympic Games.
Owners are like, yeah, sure, could lead to more visibility worldwide. Coaches and general managers are like, yeah, I'm not giving up my best player for a week or 2 weeks in training camp so he can play flag football on the West Coast. And by the way, shout out my guy, A.J. Brown. Yeah, it's nice they're playing there, but we should be in camp. I won't be there. That's a sign of a championship organization and player mentality right there. Hey, guys in the NFL, we got this. Let other people play. Let college kids play. Let high school kids play. Just be just fine. It'll be the same outcome. Trust me.
Justin Jefferson, though, not quite like A.J. Brown, saying it's a dream come true to compete for an Olympic gold medal. He is interested. We'll have plenty more DRS later on in this opening hour. Some more drama for the Bengals this offseason. Their first-round pick, the edge rusher Shamar Stewart, out of Texas A&M, not going through the second phase of the offseason program because of some wording in the Bengals rookie contract that does not necessarily cover injuries in the offseason program until that contract is signed.
Yeah, typical of the Bengals here, where everybody has basically a standard contract they're trying to get over. I'm probably sure that it probably says you have to pay for your own cleats, pants, and helmet here during your rookie season, which nobody else has to do. That's the Bengals being ultra cheap when you're not supposed to be cheap. It's a slotted contract. You print it out from your printer, everybody signs it, and you move ahead. That's the beauty of the first-round picks here in the NFL, where you don't have to worry about this. But the Bengals, always nickel and diming. Come on now.
The 31 other NFL organizations, they're doing just fine this offseason. The LA Dodgers walked it off in extras in a wild game in downtown LA last night. Max Muncy, the RBI sac fly, wins it in the home half of the 10th. LA snaps that 4-game slide against the D-backs.
Yeah, the Dodgers last night combining with Ohtani, Muncy, and Freeman here in an HRR plus parlay, just of one apiece. They all got it done. I was happy to see it. The Dodgers breakthrough after losing a couple games. Nobody saw that coming. At least they're back on the winning side now.
The Atlanta Dream, a huge win last night in a wild game in Indy against the Fever, holding on 91-90 at the bitter end. The Las Vegas Aces get win number 1 this year and do so in emphatic fashion, a 25-point blowout against the Connecticut Sun on the road.
How about that, man? WNBA heating up here. And by the way, they're going to carry a large portion of the summer here. So those rivalries, those players, keep them healthy, keep them ready to go. We'll be more invested here as the season moves on as well.
We'll talk more about the W a little bit later on. The Florida Gators. It's a great day to be a Florida Gator. If you like the men's basketball program, they add Boogie Fland, the Arkansas transfer in the transfer portal. Yesterday, the Gators looking to load up and run it back as your reigning national champs. A 15-1 price, tied for fourth best on FanDuel. Game number 1, Western Conference Finals next.
Enter into the magical world of McLuck.com, where even the smallest of spins can win real cash prizes. Adventure into over 1,000 of the best Vegas-style slot games. So what are you waiting for? Unlock your free welcome offer today. Join the fun where winners play and players win.
Two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take.
Ka-ching!
Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? circumstances provide the results.
What? How do you do this one?
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid. The game is on. The stakes are high. But the action isn't just on the field.
He's rearranging that rim. Get it inside!
SportsGrid's in-game live. Your ultimate second screen experience.
Just a little flyer, couple of
15.5-point live line.
Every prop, every play, every day.
Anything can happen. That's complete chaos.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune in to Game Time Decisions weekdays on SportsGrid.
Did you know sportsbooks tend to draw up tighter bet lines for events that get even more bettors, like championship games or major matchups? My tip, try betting on less popular sports. You might have a better shot at beating those odds. Now, go get lucky. See you in Las Vegas. Let's get lucky.
Game number one of the Western Conference Finals in 2025 last night in Oklahoma City between the Thunder and the Timberwolves. Maybe you saw this stat yesterday. The first Western Conference Finals that does not feature a team in the association from the state of California or the state of Texas in nearly 3 decades, for the first time since 1996. So OKC and Minnesota showing out for a different portion of the country. The Thunder and the Timberwolves last night in the opening game of the set. OKC a 7-point home favorite, a total consistently on the rise throughout Tuesday, DRS, at 218 and a hook, in courtesy of a dominant and impressive second half from Oklahoma City. The Thunder take game number one on their home floor in a big way. 114-88. OKC routs Minnesota. The Thunder cover as a 7-point home favorite, and that total of 218 and a hook, because of the stingy physical defense from OKC, stays well under. Oklahoma City, in its first Western Conference Finals in nearly a decade, has a 1-0 series lead.
Yeah, and also you're looking at the line from yesterday, right? And most of the public, and rightfully so, 65% betting and about 65% of the money at the FanDuel Sportsbook going on the Minnesota Timberwolves, because you were looking and saying, okay, Timberwolves series number one, Ben, 4-1 win. Easy. Get off the court against LeBron James and Luka Doncic. Series number two, drop game one, injury to a superstar player, easily handle the next 4 games and move on. Rested and ready against a team that just played a game number 7. Ooh, the Timberwolves might be able to steal game number 1, but at least they'll be able to hang around on that one. And they did for the first half, but that wasn't why I like the Oklahoma City Thunder. I'm just using based on what I feel athletes go through and sometimes those intangibles that aren't really in the X's and O's. When you are locked and loaded in playoff mode, it takes you a little bit to sort of come down from that high of game number 7. They played extremely well yesterday in the first half, and now as I talk about even footing for game number 2, we'll get to that a little bit later, but I thought it would play out as a double-digit victory for Oklahoma City. I also thought Lou Dort would do a great job on Anthony Edwards, who finished 5 of 13 from the field, only 18 total points. And how about a team worst? Minus 23 for the Ant-Man. I expect him to bounce back and be better in the series because he's a great basketball player, and that's what they do. But from last night, just looking at the overall optics of it, I was impressed by Minnesota in the first half, but I wasn't surprised that the Thunder were able to pull away. Now, having said that, when I say double-digit wins, I'm expecting double-digit win bet. I'm expecting maybe 10, 11, 12 points here. Not a 114-88, absolutely blasting there of the Timberwolves. That was a great performance for OKC. They're here to win this thing. 68 wins in the regular season was no fluke, and they're trying to tell you about that right now.
And Donnie, one of the fascinating things as well, the Timberwolves took it to OKC early. We have always questioned this Thunder core, this version of Oklahoma City. How would they respond to some playoff adversity through that 7-game series, tightly contested against the Nuggets? They passed with flying colors. They're down by a few at the break in the opening game of the Western Conference Finals on their own home floor. They come out and win the second half by 30. They closed the third quarter on a 20-6 run to take a double-digit lead into the fourth and final quarter and pulled away even further from that point. We'll talk about some of the storylines of this game. The physicality the Thunder play with defensively, and that same physicality maybe not respected by the referees last night for Minnesota on the defensive end of the floor. But a total DRS when we were discussing this game on Monday afternoon at 2:15. I bet the under then, expecting two good defenses with a couple of matchup advantages that they had exploited in the opening few rounds that were pretty equal here in the Western Conference Finals to stay under, and it did. But the public was hammering the over yesterday. 218 and a hook. 219 stays under. Minnesota unable to even register 90 points on the road. OKC has been booked as a favorite now in all 12 playoff games. They are 5-7 against the spread. We talked about it often. Best team in the NBA throughout the regular season, 68 wins. Best covered team in the association of the regular season, better than a 65% clip. But now DRS booked as a favorite in all 12 games, just 5-7 against the spread. But all of those 5 covers, Oklahoma City has won in a rout by at least 19 points. Minnesota, an underdog for just the 4th time in this playoff run. Never a dog against Golden State. An underdog 3 times against the Lakers. They're now 2-2, both straight up and against the spread.
And also, it's no surprise, too, because you look at some of the players that you need to step up. Of course, it's Anthony Edwards. 18 points, not good enough here. I don't care if you're posted up at 25.5, 26.5, 27.5. You want to beat the number 1 seeds on their home court, you got to go for 30-plus in those games. We talked about Julius Randle yesterday as that true, like, Batman and Robin. Now, Randle had 28 points yesterday. It was fantastic. 9 of 13 from the floor, 5 of 6 from three-point range, and it wasn't good enough. That's a little bit scary, right? But you're anticipating Anthony Edwards to have a comeback. But understand this, too. Your bench players typically play better on your home court. We get that. You just can't play poorly on the road. And the guys were pointing out, Dante DiVincenzo, 30 minutes. Alexander Walker, 28 minutes. Dante DiVincenzo was 3 of 14 from the floor. Alexander Walker was 3-11 from the floor. -20 and -14 between those two players. You just need other players to step up. But again, if your superstar player is not accumulating the stats that you are anticipating, like high 20s, low 30s for Anthony Edwards, you're probably going to lose. Like SGA wasn't fantastic yesterday. Take a look at 10 of 27 from the floor, 0 of 4 from three-point range. We know he gets to the free throw line, but he was still a plus 22 and 31 points in that game. That's expected here out of him. Unexpected is to get under 20 points for Anthony Edwards. He's got to change that in game number 2. But as I said, I like the fact that they're now into the series. The pressure is on them. You don't want to go down 0-2 in the series, heading back to your own home court here. You must put up a fight in game number 2, and they will do that. But outside of taking a look at Julius Randle, a lot of guys got to improve there from Minnesota. No doubt about that.
20 of those 31 points for SGA in the second half, but that was a story DRS in the entirety of game 1. You see the field goal numbers, 10 of 27, 0 of 4 from deep. Not efficient whatsoever, and yet scoring 31 points. Did have 9 dimes. Why? Shai Gilgeous-Alexander as good as anybody in the association at getting to the foul line. Some have an issue with it, saying he's a little bit dramatic, maybe acting a foul merchant, which is not something you want to be called. He was 11 for 14 at the charity stripe. Oklahoma City DRS only shooting 5 more free throws than Minnesota as a team, 26-21. But the way that Shai was defended, playoff physicality, and getting rewarded with a couple of hand checks and tic-tac fouls versus how Minnesota was defended on that side of the floor, a big story. We'll talk about it up next.
Looking for an edge in betting basketball? Injuries can make or break a game. Get insider knowledge from Dr. David Chow and the team of experts with Sick Picks at Sports Injury Central. We reveal hidden health-based advantages the sports books miss. Our doctors provide insights, and our algorithm tells you who to bet on. Spreads, props, totals, in-game bets, Sick Picks covers it all. Go to SickScore.com and sign up for Sick Picks and use the promo code SportsGrid for a free week today.
The game is on. The stakes are high. But the action isn't just on the field.
He's rearranging that rim. Get it inside!
SportsGrid's in-game live. Your ultimate second screen experience.
A little flyer, couple of
18.5-point live line.
Every prop, every play, every day.
Anything can happen. That's complete chaos.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
The two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take.
Ka-ching!
Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results.
What? How do you do this one?
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The early line, only on SportsGrid.
First time on a casino floor and feeling a little overwhelmed? Well, here's a tip. Lots of machines have a free demo mode you can try for practice. So give those slots a spin in practice mode before you start putting down some real cash. Now, go get lucky. See you in Las Vegas. Let's...
The Oklahoma City Thunder winning the second half by 30 against the Minnesota Timberwolves last night in game number 1 of the Western Conference Finals, win the game overall by 26. An impressive victory in the first Western Conference Finals action in nearly a decade. The first for this young core. OKC leads 1-0 in the Western Conference Finals. As we have mentioned a few times, you need your superstars to step up. And Anthony Edwards did not quite do that last night in game number 1. Only 18 points, 5 of 13 from the floor, and a team worst plus-minus for the T-Wolves in the opening game of the Western Conference Finals. Here's Anthony Edwards on OKC and how they performed in the second half, pulling away late.
Is there anything about their style of play that is wearing over the course of a 48-minute game where, you know, maybe you can handle it in the first half, but they keep coming with that style? It gets tougher as the game goes on?
No, not really. I definitely got to shoot more. I only took 13 shots, but I'll say probably just get off the ball a little more, play without the ball. I think that'll be the answer, because playing on the ball, they're just going to double and sit in the gaps all day. So got to go watch some film and pick it apart. We'll figure it out.
Did your ankle affect your shooting at all?
5 of 13 last night for the Ant-Man, 3 of 8 from beyond the arc. DRS, that's only 5 two-point field goals. Anthony Edwards is right. He probably has to be a little bit more aggressive offensively.
Yeah, he certainly does, and it falls on him. You can't expect a series to go through with the Minnesota Timberwolves where Anthony Edwards is average and then knock off the 1 seed. You know, it could probably be average and win top seeds here, like SGA. I'm average. I'm going to score between 26 to 31 points here every single night. They're fine with that because they have other outside outlets that they can use, and they're the better overall team than the Minnesota Timberwolves, hence the 68 regular season wins. But for Anthony Edwards, if they want to win a championship, forget about this round, Ben. If they want to win a championship, he's got to go nuclear. He's got to be in the mid-30s every single game and provide that offensive firepower that they need. Julius Randle was great last night, 28 points, but also you need Anthony Edwards above 28 points to try to compete at that point. That was the only disheartening thing, because Anthony Edwards will turn it around. He's a great player. He's going to have big games. I fully expect that. But I feel like you wasted a performance where if you told me again, Ben, we love to do this before the game, hey, Donnie, Randall's going to be tremendous and almost drop 30 points in this game, I'd say, wow, they might not only win this, but sure enough, they're going to cover that 7.5 points. It's just the other players didn't even show up for game number 1. That was the issue. And we'll get together. Julius Randle has to stay together, but those two bench players we talked about also, they got to step it up as well.
Let's mention all three, DRS, because Naz Reid, atrocious. 0 of 7 from the floor, or from deep, I should say, as well. Naz Reid, 0 of 7 from 3. Dante DiVincenzo, 3 of 12 from three-point range. Nickeil Alexander-Walker, by the way, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander's cousin. That's a story to watch. Throughout this series, 2 of 9 from deep as well. Those three guys, your sharpshooters off the bench that provide that second unit scoring, 5 of 28 in total from 3. That's about 18%. That cannot be for Minnesota to provide that offensive spark against a really good Oklahoma City defense. And also, Donnie, what's fascinating, we talk rest versus rust. It was OKC in the second half pulling away and winning by 30 points. In fact, we have seen 3 series in the Western Conference go to 7 games, and the team that won in that 7th game also won immediately in the aftermath in the opening game of their following series. The Nuggets against OKC in the second round. Golden State, even without Steph Curry in the second half, on the road in Minnesota. OKC at home last night, holding off Minnesota and expanding that lead in the final 2 quarters. So, DRS, here's where this series stands. The Thunder entered as a minus 375 favorite. When you win the final 2 quarters in an impressive way by 30 points and you win game number 1 overall by 26 and you comfortably cover as a large 7-point home favorite, of course, the odds makers are going to believe you are the team to win the West. Minus 750 now for Oklahoma City to advance to the NBA Finals.
Yeah, I do think Oklahoma City wins this series. I thought that from the jump at this point. But if I'm taking a look at a way to bet this series price, Ben, it's probably Minnesota getting 2.5 games, now down to a minus 114. I told you, I don't know if Minnesota's going to win game number 2, but I'm looking at Minnesota at least on the bet to say they're going to cover the spread and be involved in it and possibly win that game. But I've said all along, I think this is at least going 6 games. Game number 1 is not going to change my mind. Oh, man. Easy victory. There's no way they can compete. We've seen crazy ebbs and flows in the NBA the way it goes. And I also thought it was a detriment, as I told you, Minnesota having the rest and OKC already locked in and engaged in playoff mode, playing every other day. I think that will change. I think we'll get a competitive series, and it's at least going 6 games. I'll take the 2.5 with the Minnesota Timberwolves.
Completely agree, DRS. We'll talk about how to break down this series, what's ahead for game 2 tomorrow, and then we get to some NFL breaking news next.
Buy or sell, Devers will be traded this season. Let's also not forget that there's $300 million on the table due to Devers, which eliminates him from, what would you say, like 17 teams?
Oh, I would think more than 17, maybe 27. Oh, that's a joke. But how many teams could afford him? All right, 5, 6. How many teams needed a third baseman who can't play third base? You know, how many people want to deal with his attitude? He hasn't come off looking good in any of this. Whether you believe he should have anyway, doesn't look good at this. Will he be traded? No, he won't be traded. The salary alone makes it highly unlikely. He's a great hitter. No doubt he can hit. But other than that, there's too many between the money and the attitude and no really position for him here. He's not getting dealt anytime soon.
Buy or sell, if the season ended today, Hunter Brown would win the American League Cy Young Award.
Hunter Brown has been fantastic. All right, the guy that Craig's teasing, by the way, is Tariq Skubal of the Detroit Tigers here, who's certainly right up there with them. Max Fried for the Yankees has had a fantastic season. They finally lost a start where he pitched it against Seattle the other day. They'd won every start. He's been fantastic. The season ended today with Hunter Brown winning the American Cy Young Award. I certainly couldn't argue it if he did. That being said, he's going up against Skubal, who won it last year, going up against Fried of the Yankees. My guess is that he'll need a year. You understand what I'm saying? He needs a year before he can get that kind of recognition if he's tied with somebody. If he's clearly ahead, then I think he would win here. But as of right now, would he win it? I'm going to say no. I'm going to say it would be probably Max Fried.
Fantasy Sports Today. Weekends starting at 8 a.m. Eastern Time. Only on SportsGrid.
Oklahoma City leads 1-0 in the Western Conference Finals, led by a 31-point performance for Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. 20 of those 31 DRS coming in the second half. 11 of those 31 from the free throw line as well. It will be a big story to monitor throughout this series. SGA, always great if you give him credit and your glass half full at getting to the free throw line. If you want to be slightly a detractor, you say he is a foul merchant that gets a very friendly whistle. How will the officiating update? Because it seemed as though Oklahoma City was physical defensively, and they weren't whistled for many calls. The T-Wolves playing with that playoff physicality and were whistled a ton in the second half. Regardless, Oklahoma City a strong favorite to win this series, as we expected. And we see that carry over for game number 2. The Thunder have been at least a 5-point favorite in all 12 of their playoff games so far this year. It's now a 7.5 number for game number 2 tomorrow night in Oklahoma City. That total, by the way, has dropped drastically. Not from the opening numbers, but the closing number last night of 218 and a hook, or 219. Game number 2's over-under stands at 214 early. Your early impressions on the early line for game number 2 and what it says about this series.
Yeah, again, it shouldn't change at all. Like, you shouldn't just watch one game like, 13 and a half now, 14 and a half. That's not the way things work. We know the ebbs and flows of the NBA, particularly the ebbs and flows of how good a player can be, a la Anthony Edwards, and the underwhelming performance that he had. Because then we'd just be setting his points prop at 19 and a half. Oh, he only got 18 and a half game number 1, Ben. All right, 19 and a half makes some sense. No, it doesn't. It'll still be in the high 20s. He has to exceed that if they want to win. But the way I looked at this series and said, here's the way it's going to play out. Oklahoma City, double digits in game number 1. They won that. But I expect Minnesota to not only cover, if not win in game number 2, because they're back into the series. They lost. Yeah. They know they don't want to go down 0-2. They had a lot of time off to be rested and ready, which can be a good thing, but sometimes in basketball throws you out of rhythm when you had OKC engaged in playoff mode off of a game number 7, a lot of adrenaline for game number 1. We'll see how full that tank is for game number 2. Am I saying Oklahoma City probably will lose this game? No, they're supposed to win. They're favored by 7.5. But from a betting angle, now I'm looking towards the Timberwolves, as I didn't want any piece, Ben, of the Timberwolves in game number 1.
The T-Wolves have been in the Western Conference Finals for 2 consecutive years. Minnesota is not going to bow out of this quickly, despite the odds makers now expecting a gentleman's sweep. Oklahoma City was a minus 375 outright favorite to win this series before last night, before the opening game of this set. They're now minus 750. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander was a minus 310 favorite to win Western Conference Finals MVP. He's now closer to a $5 minus money favorite. After a 31-point performance and being the game's leading scorer, I'm not so sure why his number isn't even closer to the minus 750 now for the Thunder to win this series outright. But of course, if OKC is victorious, you look in one spot. That is SGA. I will say, DRS, final point on this and this series to what you highlighted. You want to approach this a couple ways. You think the Timberwolves stay competitive in this series, maybe even forcing just at least a 6th game. You can bet Minnesota now in the series spread, getting 2.5 games. They get to game 6. You cash that ticket. Or the series total games over 5.5, which was juiced yesterday at minus 140, is now just minus 104. You don't have to lay much on that to at least get to 6 games, either way you slice it.
Yeah, we're going 6 games. I truly believe that. Like, Minnesota's a good team. They'll play better defense. Their superstars will step up in games number 2, 3, and 4, because if you lose game number 2, you know it's kitchen sink for game number 3. If they win that, maybe game number 4, we get the extension. But this probably will come down to, if you want 6 games, you need Minnesota to show up in game number 2 and win that game. And I think they legitimately have a chance to do that.
Completely agree, DRS. A 7.5-point spread for tomorrow night in OKC. The Thunder now even a stronger favorite to win the NBA championship at minus 250, as is to be expected after a dominant performance in the second half of the opening game of the Western Conference Finals. But it does allow some buyback either on Minnesota directly in the West, or the Knicks and the Pacers, whose prices are getting longer because of OKC's performance in a series they are not even featured in. Of course, it is game 1 of the Eastern Conference Finals tonight inside Madison Square Garden between the Knicks and the Pacers. We'll preview the opening game of the Eastern Conference Finals a little bit later on. But some big breaking news, DRS, in Minneapolis from the NFL owners meeting. Diana Rossini of The Athletic, and only The Athletic, with a report bright and early on this Wednesday. Hours away from the owners' vote surrounding the future of the Tush Push, I'm told both the league's competition and players' health and safety committees have voted to ban the play. Despite the Eagles' best efforts, the Tush Push is likely on its way out, sources say. DRS, our Birds backer, with 2 Lombardi Trophy replicas behind you. What's your reaction to that report from Diana Rossini?
I'm not too upset because I really don't think it's going to change the play all of that much. Like, the Eagles are very good at the quarterback sneak anyway, outside of the Tush Push, which they started doing over the past couple years. So if you think like the Eagles now on 4th and 6 inches are not going to be able to get first downs, you are misconstrued at that point. Now, maybe they won't be able to get 3.5 yards every Tush Push at this point, but 2.5 yards still sounds fine. 2 yards still sounds as well. But also understand this. The Eagles are very good with their offensive line and very meticulous. Jeff Stoutland is the best offensive line coach in football. Yeah. If you don't think the Eagles have a B plan of how to circumvent this rule, you are mistaken here, because you know what's going to take place when you watch opening. They're not going to do it in the preseason. Opening night against the Dallas Cowboys on trophy night. They are going to come up with a new form of a Tush Push that is going to absolutely mangle the brain of everybody in the NFL, which includes Roger Goodell, who will be there opening night, and say, like, this has to stop. This can't be. We have to absolutely go overnight now and try to force another vote to ban what they're actually doing on opening night. So I'm ready to see the next version of the Tush Push, which, just reading some of the numbers, reading some of the proposals that the Packers put in, there's a lot of leeway in there for what you can and can't do, specifically what the Eagles are probably going to try to do now.
And I think that's incredibly important, DRS. Frankly, if I was going to trust any quarterback in any offensive line as we have seen it, to pick up a half yard or even a full yard on just a basic quarterback sneak, it would still be the signal caller under center behind a dominant O-line who can squat 600 pounds. I'm still trusting Jalen Hurts. All right, you take away the Tush Push, maybe I'll even hand the ball off to Saquon Barkley or come up with something creative as well. I do not think it is an absolute game changer where I think the Eagles should not be booked as the favorites to win the NFC or a Super Bowl now, because the brotherly shove might be on its way out. But what DRS just mentioned there is incredibly important. At the initial spring meetings, late March, early April in Palm Beach, of course, we got reports that the vote on the Tush Push ban was a dead heat. 16 yeses, 16 no's. So ahead of the owner meetings this week in the Twin Cities, the Packers, who introduced the proposal, slightly changed some of the wording. Here's the main points, just to break down for you. Point A, push or pull a runner in any direction at any time or lift him to his feet. So you can't push him, you can't grab him and throw him across that line to gain. Push or throw his body against a teammate to aid him in an attempt to obstruct an opponent or to recover a loose ball. Or point D, assist the runner except by individually blocking opponents for him. If you do any of these things and a yellow flag is thrown, it will be a penalty, more than likely resulting in a loss of 10 yards. But Donnie, based on those words, and the main point being push or pull a runner in any direction at any time, there will still be creative ways that maybe you can't push Jalen Hurts from behind, but you can still be aggressive at the point of attack and on the line of scrimmage to still be wildly successful if you are the Eagles, or, it should be noted, any other NFL team.
Yes, they don't like the optics of the pushing of the quarterback here, which is Jalen Hurts. So why don't you just line up 2 defensive tackles right behind your guards and have a flying wedge that doesn't touch Jalen Hurts, but absolutely obliterates the front line of the defense, and you still roll in for 2.5 yards? I'm telling you, the Eagles are going to get so many people upset on opening night when they go 8 for 8 on the new version of the Tush Push.
We'll talk more about the owner meetings up next.
Buy or sell Devers will be traded this season. Let's also not forget that there's $300 million on the table due to Devers, which eliminates him from, what would you say, like 17 teams?
Oh, I would think more than 17, maybe 27. That's a joke, but how many teams could afford him? All right, 5, 6. How many teams need a third baseman who can't play third base? You know, how many people want to deal with his attitude? He hasn't come off looking good at any of this. Whether you believe he should have anyway, he doesn't look good at this. Will he be traded? No, he won't be traded. The salary alone makes it highly unlikely. He's a great hitter. All right, no doubt he can hit. But other than that, there's too many between the money and the attitude and no really position for him here. He's not getting dealt anytime soon.
Buy or sell? If the season ended today, Hunter Brown would win the American League Cy Young Award.
Hunter Brown has been fantastic. All right, the guy that Craig's teasing, by the way, is Tariq Skubal of the Detroit Tigers here, who's certainly right up there with them. Max Fried for the Yankees has had a fantastic season. They finally lost a start where he pitched in against Seattle the other day. They'd won every start. He's been fantastic. The season ended today. Would Hunter Brown win the American Cy Young Award? I certainly couldn't argue it if he did. That being said, he's going up against Skubal, who won it last year, going up against Fried of the Yankees. My guess is that he'll need a year. You understand what I'm saying? He needs a year before he can get that kind of recognition if he's tied with somebody. If he's clearly ahead, then I think he would win here. But as of right now, would he win it? I'm going to say no. I'm going to say it would be probably Max Fried.
Fantasy Sports Today. Weekends starting at 8 a.m. Eastern Time. Only on SportsGrid.
Live right here on the early line on SportsGrid. Of course, a big theme in football this week in the NFL. The owner meetings continuing on this Wednesday in Minneapolis. We are expecting at some point this morning, this afternoon, an official vote on a few proposed rule changes. Most notably, as we were just discussing, a ban on the tush push that, as The Athletic and only The Athletic's Diana Rossini has reported, is likely on its way out as both the competition and players' health and safety committees have voted to ban the play. Now, any data that shows the tush push, the brotherly shove, is more dangerous than any other regular NFL play is not there. It is not a part of the conversation. It's really just about the spirit of competition. As Donnie and I laid out, the Packers kind of changed their proposal ever so slightly in some of the wording. If the tush push is banned, I think the Eagles will be upset. But I don't think Philadelphia is going to care all that much. And should it change our opinion on the reigning Super Bowl champions and their title defense? I would say absolutely not as well. And one final thing. The reason we are focusing on Philadelphia is kind of dumb as well. The tush push in the play the Eagles have crowned is available to all 32 NFL organizations. So the reason a play for the entirety of the league needs to be changed and now banned is dumb. The Eagles did not take advantage of some wording in a loophole. The Eagles just have run it better by investing in the play better than any other team around the NFL. But hey, it's going to be banned. How will the Eagles respond? I'm sure in flying colors.
It's a great point you bring up, too, because, again, it wasn't that the Eagles were grandfathered in where they can only run this play. Like, everybody can do it. And it's smart, by the way. You can put on your hater hat or not. But if I'm another organization and go, I can't run this play, it's unfair, how can we get it banned? I sort of have respect for that because you're saying to yourself, we can't run this. If I can remove a key play from another team's organization where they can't run it and we don't run it anyway, that's a big win. That's like saying Patrick Mahomes does a little that you spin in the pocket and rolls out and throws the ball, no-look pass. Hey, you can't throw no-looks anymore because that's unfair. My quarterback can't do it. I don't want you doing that. Or how about this on 3rd and 9 where Lamar Jackson scrambles out of the pocket and they go, my quarterback can't do that. You got to think quarterbacks can't run because my quarterback can't do it. See how petty you get at that point?
Yeah.
But also understand this. Here's what I want to understand. It's obviously not getting banned for safety at this point. The commissioner wants it out because they always talk about like the optics of the play is bad. So what's the optics different on a normal quarterback sneak and a tush push? It's the same exact play. It's the same rugby scrum in the middle. So basically what they really should say is, we just don't want a quarterback having the ability to run a sneak. That's an illegal play. That would be interesting then, where you have to snap the football and hand it off or throw a pass. You can't run a quarterback sneak. So that's my only question is, why on a quarterback sneak is that valid, but a tush push is not? The optics are identical in both scenarios here. But again, it just gets back to the point where one team has invested in a play that was within the rules that other teams cannot run. So the other teams then turn around and say, we don't do this. What happens if you're really good? Like Buddy Ryan's 46 defense in the late 80s and early 90s was just blitzing and burying the quarterback. What happens if they had an issue and said, you know what? It's unfair to blitz at this point. We should just you can't rush more than 4 guys every single play because I don't have linebackers or defensive coordinator that can do that. It gets real petty down there. But I'm telling you right now, if you think the Philadelphia Eagles are we got you now, they are going to be so creative to start that season that the NFL is probably going to have to send a memo to the Eagles by saying, we understand what you're doing. You're circumventing rules here. It's not what's exactly written, but knock it off, and they'll continue to do it.
Plus 650 the price on the Birds to repeat as Super Bowl champions. They are the favorite. Is that number going to shift, get longer in the afternoon when the proposal might be officially put in place? Absolutely not. Here's what they're voting on today at the owner meetings. That proposed change in the ban of the tush push, of course, the playoff seeding, and as we laid out yesterday, what that could look like, and maybe changes to the onside kick that would move the kicking team 1 yard closer to the receiving team, trying to help the kicking team have more success in doing so. And if you are trailing at any point, you can elect to go onside, not just trailing in the fourth quarter. Of course, the changes to playoff seeding, instead of going 1 through 4 divisional winners, 5 through 7 wild card, it would be those 7 teams reaching the postseason in a conference seeded 1 through 7, just based off record. No guaranteed of home field advantage for a divisional champ. I hate that rule. I really hope it is not passed today. DRS, it should be noted, you need 24 of 32 owners to vote to get something that is proposed put into place. That's a super majority. They got 100% yesterday. All 32 NFL owners unanimously voting for NFL players to be allowed, if it is out there, to compete in the 2028 Summer Olympic Games in flag football. As expected, it is now official, and now we wait to see if NFL players will play in the Olympiad in Los Angeles in 2028.
I'm sure some will, but again, good luck telling a coach that you are going to miss a week and a half of training camp to get ready for the season and then go hurt your ankle or hamstring here playing flag football in the Olympics. That is absolutely astounding here. If it was not during the season, you'd be like, yeah, of course they're going to play. They'll have some fun and do that. But this is dead smack when you are installing your offense and you're going to be wet. And I'm not even talking about, like, you need DBs. You need safeties. You need quarterbacks. What, you don't think Patrick Mahomes? Like, I'm not saying Patrick Mahomes will play, but hey, Andy, Pat's going to miss 2 weeks of training camp. He's going to go play flag football at the Olympics. How does that go over in an organization? Do you send backup quarterbacks there? Do you send, college kids, because they're technically not in camp yet in the month of July? You usually wait there till what, early August before those kids get to camp. So maybe that's an option. But yeah, it's not a big deal. It's not a big deal. And I don't know why you would be, it's always been a lifelong dream of mine for what? Come on now. There's no dream of playing flag football in the Olympics and getting a gold medal because you routed up guys that never saw football before. What type of history is that?
Well, it's a dream that maybe they did not expect to realize and now have the opportunity to. I do hear it from the elite athletic competition standpoint of trying to add to the trophy mantle with maybe the most iconic trophy in sports, that being an Olympic gold medal. Only one player allowed from every NFL team on a country represented. There is also a current national team for Team USA in flag football. That'll be interesting. More next.
Buy or sell, Devers will be traded this season. Let's also not forget that there's $300 million on the table due to Devers, which eliminates him from, what would you say, like 17 teams?
Oh, I would think more than 17, maybe 27. That's a joke, but how many teams could afford him? All right, 5, 6. How many teams need a third baseman who can't play third base? You know, how many people want to deal with his attitude? He hasn't come off looking good in any of this. Whether you believe he should have anyway, he doesn't look good at this. Will he be traded? No, he won't be traded. The salary alone makes it highly unlikely. He's a great hitter. All right, no doubt he can hit. But other than that, there's too many between the money and the attitude and no really position for him here. He's not getting dealt anytime soon.
Buy or sell? If the season ended today, Hunter Brown would win the American League Cy Young Award.
Hunter Brown has been fantastic. All right, the guy that Craig's teasing, by the way, is Tariq Skubal of the Detroit Tigers here, who's certainly right up there with them. Max Fried for the Yankees has had a fantastic season. They finally lost a start where he pitched in against Seattle the other day. They'd won every start. He's been fantastic. The season ended today. Would Hunter Brown win the American Cy Young Award? I certainly couldn't argue it if he did. That being said, he's going up against Skubal, who won it last year, going up against Fried of the Yankees. My guess is he wouldn't, that he'll need a year. You understand what I'm saying? He needs a year before he can get that kind of recognition if he's tied with somebody. If he's clearly ahead, then I think he would win here. But as of right now, would he win it? I'm going to say no. I'm going to say it would be probably Max Fried.
Fantasy Sports Today. Weekends starting at 8 a.m. Eastern Time. Only on SportsGrid.
Live right here on the early line on SportsGrid, rounding out our opening hour with a recap of a full Tuesday slate around Major League Baseball. I say full, but as we feared, more bad weather in Minneapolis rains out the Twins and the Guardians for a second consecutive day. Even the suspended game from Monday unable to be concluded on a Tuesday. The LA Dodgers not playing great baseball, swept by the Angels for the first time in a decade and a half over the weekend, and then lost their opening game against the Arizona Diamondbacks on Monday night as well. How about a Tuesday? Low-scoring game, DRS, in regulation in the opening 9 innings, 1-1. We go to extras. Corbin Carroll hits a 2-run shot in the top of the 10th to give Arizona a hefty lead. So the Dodgers, down by multiple runs in the home half of the 10th, have to respond, and they do. Max Muncy, a walk-off sac fly RBI. Shohei Ohtani scoring the game-winning run. A walk-off winner for the Dodgers. They snapped that 4-game slide with a 4-3 win over Arizona.
Yeah, it's a good win, too, because once you get to extra innings, you figure that you can give each team a run, but you get the 2-run shot in the top of the 10th inning. Now you're saying to yourself, like, uh-oh, now we got to score more runs than that just to even get it to the next inning. Didn't need that. 3 runs in the bottom of the 10th inning and a much-needed victory for them. Ohtani, not great, 1 for 4. Mookie Betts, not great, 1 for 5. We saw Freddie Freeman with 2 hits. And by the way, the only guy with multiple hits in that lineup was Freddie Freeman yesterday here. So struggling a little bit at the plate, but still picking up a victory against a divisional opponent. You'll take that.
Gabriel Moreno, by the way, a solo shot in the 9th to force extra innings because Yoshi Yamamoto was sensational yesterday. You saw his reaction. 7 innings of shutout work, only allowing a single base knock. Took a no-hitter into the 7th inning and did strike out 9. The ERA now for Yamamoto after he gave up 8 total earned runs in his last 2 starts entering yesterday's outing against the Diamondbacks. A 1.86 ERA all season long for Yamamoto. A former Dodger hurler, Walker Buehler, on the bump yesterday in Boston for the Red Sox. His first start since the end of April. Of course, injuries have been a story for Buehler the last 2.5-3 seasons in the bigs. Pitching pretty well against the New York Mets. He was ejected after getting into it with the home plate ump, saying that Francisco Lindor leaned into a pitch that hit him. Alex Cora goes out there to have his pitchers back. He gets ejected as well. And despite all of that, the Red Sox still blank the Amazons. They have taken both of the opening 2 games in this series. 2-0 winner for Boston yesterday at Fenway.
Yeah, where has that Mets offense gone at this point? You take a look at Lindor, got a base hit. Soto got a base hit. Alonso 0 for 4. Nimmo 0 for 4. Just not a good look right now. But also, the key part of this game, too, like Walker Buehler gets tossed after 2 1/3 innings pitched here. Great job by the Boston bullpen to hold down the fort, not even allow a single run to the New York Mets. But also, this is like it's a unique sport here, and it doesn't happen anywhere else. Like, can you imagine a hockey referee, Ben? You see the red line. They take away the red line on the goal line, and it's up to the referee if he thinks the puck went into the net. And, it's human element. Yeah, the puck might have went across, but I'm going to stick with my call. Nonsense. You go to replay and you figure that out. In the NBA, can you imagine, Ben, the three-point line being taken away where ref goes like, you know what? My three-point line is different than Javi's three-point line or whoever else is reffing out here. It's like, that doesn't make any sense. Why in Major League Baseball can you throw a pitch right down the middle? I'm just like, yeah, I might have missed it or not. Like, no, it's a strike. It could change the plate appearance. It could change the inning. It could change the game. You have the technology to make a strike zone exactly what it's supposed to be, and yet they refuse to do that. And that's why Walker Buehler was so upset. Like we all know it was a strike. You can't have the third base guy come in or the second base guy like, hey, Tom, behind the plate, it was a strike. Oh, my bad. 1-1, not 0-2. But instead, you take your mask off as an umpire, scream back at the pitcher, and eject the pitcher because your call was so bad. That's not the way it's supposed to work in sports, man. Baseball is the only sport that does that, where you have a strike zone that is clearly defined, but everybody has a different strike zone. It's madness, man. It is.
I didn't know that Donnie Rightside was a fan of robot umps in the automatic strike zone.
Immediately.
But here, all right. Okay, maybe Spencer Strider could have used an automatic strike zone yesterday in his first start in more than a month. Just his second start of the year, this time returning from a hamstring injury, goes 4 1/3, gives up 4 earned runs in a loss against the Washington Nationals. Not great news for the Braves, but of course, big news to have Strider back and healthy.
Yeah, he's back, but that's still a bad loss at that point right now. You're taking a look at a team that's sort of in the mix saying, hey, we can win this division. We're going to get healthy eventually. You expect Strider to come back. I don't care if he's coming back on injury or not. The expectations are always 7 innings pitched, 1 earned run, and 10 Ks. We're just not getting that back. I'm sure he'll find his footing, but right now it doesn't look good for the Braves. It just doesn't.
Schwarbaum goes deep in Colorado.
Always.
Phillies win again. Hour 2 is here.
Boston knew they were in trouble, Tom, but the most important thing is they fed off of their crowd, and in that third quarter, when Boston could have made a run, the Knicks just put that one last run together to put the game away.
So it was good to see them, to round this all together, good to see them finally put all the pieces in place to close out the series and say, yes, we are playing our best basketball, because that's what they're going to need against the Pacers.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
If you believe he should be in the Hall of Fame, there's, let's let him wait another 2 years. Wait, he's already dead at this point. Like, what are you waiting for another 2 to 3 years? He's either in or he's out. And sometimes you look at that too, Tom, it's like you can't tell, the history of Major League Baseball without Pete Rose.
Frankly, the writers have some standard that they want to hold players to, which seems to fluctuate on a player-to-player basis. So he should be in the Hall of Fame, but I'm not sure how quickly he'll get there.
Pro Baseball Today, only on SportsGrid.
You are a Pirates fan. I don't think you've got a reason good enough for me to be wearing Met stuff when the Mets are playing the Pirates right now. I don't think I'm gonna go, okay, I see it at the end of your explanation.
I'm gonna put it on Vinny. I'm gonna put it on all the Mets fans. The Pirates won 2 in a row. They fired the manager over the weekend. A new era of Pirates baseball has begun.
Game time decisions, only on SportsGrid.
Two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results.
What? How do you do this once?
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on Sports.